Today, I want to share with you what I learned about confidence. Hey homies, did you know the way you look, move and carry yourself forms 80% of someone's first impression of you? That means that someone has completely made up their mind about you before you even get to say your first words. So today I want to share with you how we can actually use that to our advantage. It's actually pretty simple, and it's something that you've probably heard before countless times. Walk with great posture, keep your head up, keep a direct gaze, and wear a confident smile. But why are these things important, you may ask? Human beings had to rely on their ability to make snap decisions about pretty much everything. If you couldn't make a good decision on whether someone was an enemy or a friend, it could cost you your life. And even though we don't live in a do or die society anymore, the hardware in our brain hasn't changed all that much from those primitive days. The bulk of your confidence will always come from your posture, and there's a good reason for it that I will share at the end of the video. Standing up straight with your head kept high and your shoulder blades back signals to other people that you belong. The opposite of which would be you're looking down at your feet and you have your frame bent over, signaling to people that you don't belong, and you're reducing your size and your likelihood of making eye contact with anyone. So by just staying aware of your posture, you have your first piece of armor on against those pesky feelings of self-awareness. The next one is the confident smile. And you might be asking, what is a confident smile supposed to look like? The way I like to think about it is that feeling you get after you throw a piece of paper from across the room into the dustbin, or if you catch something just before it falls on the ground. That smile you have that's like, did anybody just see that? That attitude and that feeling is the exact attitude and feeling you should have walking into any room or any social situation. You should walk in there like, does anybody see me? This might sound very pretentious and a little bit egotistical, but that's the exact feeling we should have, because we are worth someone's time. And if we don't believe in ourselves, why should anybody else? You should communicate with your smile and with your posture to everybody that's looking at you that you are a winner. The next thing I want to talk about is your gaze. This one is more important than we actually realize sometimes. By looking down at your feet or at your phone, you are communicating something to people without having to say anything. Looking away could signal dishonesty. Looking at your feet could signal feelings of inadequacy. And looking at your watch or your phone can signal feelings of disinterest or just a feeling of awkwardness or a need to escape. These things could be detrimental to the image that we are trying to build for ourselves. So I want to encourage you to start using eye contact as a way to communicate your intentions. By making and keeping eye contact, you are taking on one of the most difficult parts of any social interaction. By doing so, you are communicating to the other person that you are not only in control of the conversation, but you're also in control of your own instinct to look away. It's something I had to teach myself how to do, and it is something that you will have to learn through experimentation. There's definitely such a thing as too much eye contact, and you know there's that one person that just like keeps looking at you with like the most intensity that you've ever experienced. But there's a playfulness that you can use with your eyes as well. We can communicate so much just by using our eyes. And I think it's one of the ways of communication that people undervalues and don't really take into consideration sometimes. The last thing I want to talk about is our feet. And this one is more important to know from an observational standpoint than it is from a personal standpoint. When we walk, our feet point in the direction that we want to go. That's pretty obvious. But what's not so obvious is the fact that our feet do the same thing when we are in a conversation with someone. When we're in a conversation that we enjoy and are engaged in, our feet will point towards that person. But when we're in a conversation with someone that we don't enjoy, our feet will point away from that person. So this gives you a really good gauge on how a social interaction is going. If someone's feet is pointing away from you, it might mean that they're not all that interested. if someone's feet is pointing towards you, it can mean you're doing pretty well. Not everyone gets along, and not everyone have the same personalities. So if you notice someone's feet is trying to run away from you, you can take back control and end the conversation preemptively, allowing them to get away with feeling good about themselves because they didn't have to be rude and end the conversation with you. And also, you're subconsciously communicating that you are the one in control of this whole conversation from the very beginning. So by ensuring you hold your posture, keep your head up, make eye contact, and smile when it's appropriate, you can set that part of your mind at ease that's always wondering, what are people thinking of me? And know that they see someone that's worth listening to, allowing you to focus on what you want to say. Now that I've shared with you these tips, I want to explain to you why they will help you. But first, it's important to know that we have three parts in our brain: the central core, the limbic system, and the cerebral cortex. The central core I like to think of as the lizard brain, or the one that thinks about survival, the one that needs to eat, the one that needs to reproduce, and the one that thinks about fight or flight. The limbic system I like to think about as the monkey brain, the one that experiences emotions and the one that enjoys social situations. And the last one, the cerebral cortex, I like to think about as the elephant brain. The elephant brain because it's the one that's in charge of critical thinking and ideas. So you might be asking, what does this have to do with anything? Basically, if you've ever been in an awkward social situation, you've probably experienced these symptoms. Your heart started beating fast, your hands got sweaty, your mouth got dry, and you probably started fiddling with your hands. These are all functions of your central core, your lizard brain. Carrying ourselves in a confident manner and setting our lizard brain at ease allows us to raise our thought process from a survival standpoint to a relationship building and intelligent conversation one. We are no longer thinking about running for our lives, and instead engaging our limbic system to socialize with motivation, be it making friends, earning clients, or pursuing a love interest. By allowing us to tell stories gathered from our memories and engaging our cerebral cortex to process the emotional stimulation people's words bring, allowing us to engage our higher thinking and form our own opinions and valuable inputs. The last thing I want to mention is neurotransmitters. Studies at Stanford, Columbia, Harvard, and Berkeley have all found that posture has a direct effect on mood and levels of self-confidence by affecting levels of testosterone and cortisol. Adopting what the study calls expansive or powerful postures raises levels of testosterone, the hormone responsible for feelings of self-confidence and dominance, and lowers levels of cortisol, the hormone responsible for feelings of stress and anxiety. Meaning that just by changing your posture, you are giving yourself a neurochemical advantage. So what can we do with this information right now, as we're definitely not going outside and socializing at this very moment? What I want you to do is raise your hands up, take in a big breath with your hands still raised, and then lower them as you release a big sigh. If that doesn't make you feel anything, I don't know what will. That pose is the pose of winners. When someone scores a goal, wins a race, or does something great, they instinctively raise their hands up above their head in victory. This fact is so true that even the blind do the same thing. Someone who has never seen anybody celebrate in their entire lives have the exact same reaction when they celebrate. It's hardwired into our bodies and brains to make us as large as possible so that we can claim the space and get noticed. Something that I like to do when I wake up in the mornings is throw my hands up in the air as soon as I hear my alarm go off. This gives me a baseline of what I want my mindset to be like for the rest of the day. It might be a little bit cheesy, but that's exactly how I woke up this morning to film this video. That's gonna be all for today's video. Leave a question in the comments if you have any, and like and subscribe if you want to see some more content. Bye, homie.